to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. And I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions, live on SportsGrid. It is a Thursday night. I'm Kevin Walsh with you here for the next 2 hours as we get ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the team with the best record in the league all season long, 14 games better than the next team in the East, I think 7 better than the next team in the Western Conference. They're playing from the West, the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Dallas the 5 seed. Coming out of the West. And, man, there's just so much here. There's so much to get into. And we've got a great crew to help us do that. Coach James Young here in 30 minutes. Raheem Palmer here in an hour. Dave Sharapan in the mix as well at around 7:30. We're going to get some baseball for you. Quick shout-out. Paul Skeens did more than enough, I thought, to move that Cy Young number. They didn't move it. If you didn't bet it yet, I'd probably go again. It will move at some point. We have a baseball card tonight. We have a baseball play of the day. We'll get there. Some WNBA action. There is also massive breaking basketball news throughout this day around the Los Angeles Lakers head coaching position. Dan Hurley, the UConn head coach, potentially becoming the next head coach for the LA Lakers. We will get to that all in time. Let's start with a quick pick. Let's start with a plus 850. P.J. Washington to hit the first 3 of the game between the Mavericks and the Celtics. This is the Threes Day special that you can find on DraftKings. You get money back for every made 3, so why not? You hope it's basically risk-free, and I think P.J.'s got a shot. I do. Look, this is more vibe than specifics, admittedly. I've got a lot more research breakdowns for you. I do believe you will see plenty of corner 3 opportunities for P.J. Washington. No matter how Dallas wants to try and defend Luka Doncic, the corner 3s are always going to be there. He's too good at creating them. It's going to require Dallas or Boston really to stay home if they want to avoid him, and you just get drawn into the paint too much. So plus 850, that's how we start this off. Let's go right to the best bet. That's the Celtics team total over 110.5. Tonight's spread sits at 6.5 everywhere. The total has been moving consistently. 214.5 for about a week. At one point, dropped down to 214, and then slowly but surely carrying up. We saw 215.5. We saw 216.5. Now, 217.5 is the primary number. It's a big shift. That's why I want to isolate this Boston team total. If you are not aware, I believe the Celtics win this series. I think the Celtics win tonight. But I like this to be an over series. What I trust the most tonight and probably over the course of the entirety of this series, no matter how many games it goes, I trust the Celtics offense. They've been great hitting their team totals in game number ones. They've scored over this number in all 3 game ones so far. Their home points per game are absolutely incredible. And we've seen the Dallas defense lack a little bit in the beginning of series. Gave up a team total over to Oklahoma City pretty easily, to the Clippers as well. Pardon me. And then Minnesota got right next to that team total. I think they fell a point or two short in game one. So the Celtics team total at 110.5 is how I'm going to start this out. Let's see if we can just sneak in a quick beverage drink here, folks. The throat is going a little bit. We couldn't miss NBA Finals game one. A little bit of coffee for the people. That's how we go. All right, let's keep moving here. What else do we have tonight? Picks for this game. We're going to go Luka, or let's do the finals futures, just in case you've missed them. All right? Let's do the finals futures. Luka to record 6+ assists in every game. That's at plus 190. Lively series rebound leader. That's 14-1. Let's see if that's still 14-1. It's, for me, it's become increasingly one of my favorite numbers overall. And it's down to 9-1, where I bet it at 14. I think you can still get at least 10-1, which is a good number. I would still bet it at 10-1. I think he does have a very real chance to cash the ticket. But you want the biggest number imaginable. 11-1 you can find. You want the biggest number imaginable on that Lively ticket because you may need to hedge against one of Tatum or Luka. So I'm looking for Lively in that market. And then the rest of these are Boston bets. Kristaps plus 350 for 5+ rebounds in every game. All right. I've taken a chance on Tatum for 3+ threes as an average in the series, plus 200. Of course, Tatum finals MVP minus 115. And then Jaylen Brown to outscore Kyrie in the series at plus 120. I've grown to like that bet more and more as I've continued to dive into this series. Jaylen Brown's going to have a very good series. I believe that. If you're Boston, or if you're Dallas, rather, your priority is still going to be Tatum. Drew and Derek White will initiate a lot of stuff. Jaylen Brown, it's just, this is where Boston keeps hitting you, right? It's like we have another guy to worry about. And he's got a hot hand right now, Jaylen Brown. It really does. Kyrie on the other end of it struggled efficiency-wise against this Boston defense. And that's been the case. Derek White and Drew Holiday are not a good matchup for him. They're not a good matchup for anyone. He's also going to have to expend more energy defensively. Think about that series against OKC. One of the major talking points of the series was how good defensively Kyrie was. If Kyrie is even good defensively in this series, that'd be great for Dallas. It's going to cost him offense. It's going to cost him offense. Those are the futures. Picks tonight. Gafford Lively over 16.5 combined. I wanted to go to these combo markets before they potentially disappear. Player combos will not disappear. DraftKings has been doing them all playoffs long. I think they did play them in the regular season as well. You'll notice they don't do guys on the same team. You try and avoid that because of the potential where if one guy has an amazing game, it's fine that if the other guy kind of goes low, it can make up for it, right? Well, FanDuel only recently introduced the combo markets or head-to-head specials that are also introducing in the combo markets. And Gafford Lively over 16.5 points is as good as it gets. This hit in 3 out of the last 4 against the Clippers, 5 out of 6 against Oklahoma City, hit in the first 2 games against Minnesota. Game 3, Lively was injured. Game 4, he missed. and then a hit in Game 5. That means that this has gone over in 11 of the last 13 healthy games that this duo has played. We're getting minus 110. And now I don't have to worry about Gafford losing out on minutes, which is possible in this series. Same idea for Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, this was a slow start. They only hit this once against Miami, struggled against Cleveland early, but they've now hit this in 6 of their last 7 playoff games, 4-0 against the Pacers. And you look at the regular season, they had a 39-34 game, that's 73 total, and then a 32-25 game, that's 57 total. I think Tatum has a big night. I think he's in line for 30-plus. If he gets 30-plus, I'll get what I need out of JB. Again, I think that you can't alt the same team stuff, which would be very tempting. I'd be playing Lively and Gafford for 20-plus, whatever. But we'll still take these 50.5s. That's at minus 118. And then Kristaps over 3.5 first-quarter points. It's worth a shot. A lot of people worried about his health, understandably. But at minus 120, he averaged 7 first-quarter points per game in the regular season, 3-1 in this postseason, 22-3 on this number in his last 25 regular season games. Books are dropping this because they're unsure. Kristaps could get this in 2 possessions. That's how we start the card for the NBA Finals. We're live right here on SportsGrid. We're going to do a little same-game parlay action for the people, and we're also, of course, going to get involved with Dan Hurley potentially becoming the new head coach of the LA Lakers.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bins?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you. Forgive the voice. It's just sometimes that time of year. The allergies come in and out. We've had much worse days back in the winter. We'll be fine. Picks are on the board. Best bet tonight, Celtics team total over. Few other combo bets. We'll go around the board with those. Reestablish the finals futures. Also, a very silly yet serious 8-leg same-game parlay that only pays plus 112. We'll get there when it's time. Let's start with the NBA news. Dan Hurley and the chance that he is going to become the new head coach of the LA Lakers. Firstly, stunning. The Lakers have been consistently reported as down to two coaches, J.J. Redick, James Borrego. J.J. Redick and his ties to LeBron, Borrego and his ties to Anthony Davis. He had some time in New Orleans with AD. Borrego. Redick does a podcast with LeBron. Now, forget the credentials of Redick. It's not the point. The Lakers had two guys in front of them. We get a report yesterday, 2 days ago. Shams Charania says the Lakers are zeroing in on J.J. Redick. Basically saying he's the guy. They're going to hire him. Matter of when, not if. Well, Woj comes over the top with this Dan Hurley news, which is out of nowhere. I mean, when you factor in, if Woj would have said, hey, it looks like it's going to be Borrego, it would have been stunning. It would have contradicted the Shams report, and it would have been a real surprise. If Woj would have came out and said, hey, it looks like actually Kenny Atkinson has really crept into the race here, that would have been a surprise. He's not been listed quite a lot. Dan Hurley, whose name has not been talked about at all in these NBA circles during this offseason with the head coaching carousel? Dan Hurley, who very comfortably decided to turn down the Kentucky job this offseason to stay at UConn for a chance to three-peat and really, truly build that team as a, or maybe the, powerhouse in college basketball, is now going to not just potentially be the Lakers head coach, not begin in conversations. Conversations are ramping up. Conversations are going to progress quickly. Dan Hurley today at UConn men's basketball practice told the team it's real. We're talking. So that means that Hurley is going to want to decide soon, and he's not going to want this to linger over this UConn basketball team. There's a UConn fallout to this. Let me just say, my initial read, 9 a.m., was this isn't going to happen. They're going to talk. They're going to talk. Hurley's going to choose to stay in UConn. It was just kind of the verbiage of it all. It's how it felt to me. I have changed my tune. How do you let it get this far and not cross the finish line? Hurley's open about it. Told the UConn kids, wants a chance to coach in the league. Bright lights of L.A. I don't think Hurley's scared to run from it. Lakers want the guy. Lakers want the guy. Woj is continuously in his reporting tipping the contract will not just pay a ton. It'll be very long. 7, 8, 9, maybe a decade, maybe 10 years on that contract. It would be very surprising if this does not get done. The fallout from that is it increases the chance that LeBron leaves. The Lakers are currently 40-1 to win the championship next year. If Dan Hurley becomes this team's head coach, do not run to that number. LeBron leaving because Hurley comes in is not LeBron didn't get JJ. Again, LeBron's main guy has always been Ty Lue. The Lakers can't get him. It's not, LeBron doesn't like Dan Hurley. I think he respects Dan Hurley. I don't know if they'll necessarily mesh together in the hypothetical world where LeBron's on the roster and Hurley is the head coach. It's the Lakers, again, showing their priority isn't LeBron. Again, you can believe that's the correct decision. I'm not saying it's a mistake anymore, at least. LeBron James is about to be 40. It's time to go. He's still a top 10 player in the league. And if the Lakers are bringing in Hurley to build a program, player development, that's all Adrian Wojnarowski could say. They are showing once again LeBron's timeline isn't their priority. the team that didn't push in for Kyrie, the team that waited to pull the plug on the Russell Westbrook experiment, the team that didn't get off of D'Angelo Russell, that didn't trade for multiple starting guards that were available like DeJounte Murray, is again showing your timeline isn't ours. And again, this time, that's fine. If the Lakers had to choose between Hurley or LeBron, choosing Hurley is fine. But it means it's a reset, and we have to figure out where LeBron would go. It still could be tied to Bronny James. The Lakers, this short number to draft Bronny. Woj saying, wow, 55th pick. Imagine Hurley developing Bronny. Get out of here with that. That is nonsense. That is ridiculous. That is not what they want. Phoenix is live. It is. Cavs are live. They are. Knicks are in the mix. Where are they? A gazillion picks in the 20s? It's on the board that LeBron just joins Bronny as long as the situation is correct. As long as that situation provides him win now. And there are situations in the East, too, that can make that a possibility. Quickly on UConn, their number was 10-1 this morning. It's down to 14. It'll be 40 if Dan Hurley leaves. We'll be right back here on SportsGrid.
When it comes to betting on sports, injuries matter, and Sports Injury Central has you covered all year long with expert injury analysis and injury-based picks for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Our former pro sports doctors have unmatched experience to analyze every injury so you know the impact of the player, team, and their upcoming matchup. Whether it's articles, podcasts, player insights, or our patented injury scores, Sports Injury Central will help you keep up with your fantasy team and make more informed wagers. So make sure you follow Sports Injury Central and gain an edge at sixscore.com.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
That's me up there. All right, we're back right here, Game Time Decisions. We're going to talk a lot of Game 1, of course, with Coach, but also we're going to get into plenty of the Hurley, Lakers, LeBron stuff of it all, UConn stuff of it all. I'll just button up this point with UConn. It's not a slight. It's not a slight. If you lose Hurley, Your goal is make the tournament, if that. You lost your 4 best players. Three-peating was already going to be hard. I think the market was too in on UConn as is. They earned the respect, though. Hurley did. That's fine. You lose Hurley, you've now lost your 4 best players, your head coach, and guess what? A 30-day transfer portal of your guys only. If I understand that situation correctly, because the portal closed. If your coach leaves, it opens back up for UConn players. Guys can leave. You don't bring anything in. So look, trust me, I'm very tempted to do some victory lapping around people who told me UConn runs college basketball. I don't need to do that. Those were bad takes when they happened. What I'm telling you is, if Hurley goes 40-1, 50-1, we're not betting it. If you want to bet if you want to bet Hurley's gone, you bet at the top, not long shots. Kansas, Houston, you bet Duke, you bet at the top. Okay? Let me, I'll save the parlay for when JY gets here. I think he'll be a big fan of it because it's a little ridiculous. W card tonight. We'll get some picks from Coach. I'm sure he'll be in the mix. I have, admittedly, it's Mystic Sky, and then it's Liberty on the road against Atlanta. Liberty are big favorites to become the East representative in that Commissioner's Cup. Still shows how strong their power ratings are compared to the Connecticut Sun, despite the great start from the Sun. Day-to-day W, things have not been jumping off the board. I don't know if I find myself more hesitant sometimes because, one, all of my losing bets have involved the Indiana Fever's shortcomings. But two, all of the other stuff has gone so well, I don't ever want to force the issue. But the W card didn't stand out to me tonight. The baseball board did. But I played it short. I have your MLB play of the day. It starts in 20 minutes. Ozzie Albies to record a run, -115. This is great. Look, Mitchell Parker's been solid, but lefties have had their way. Ozzie Albies batting leadoff, a lefty, has had his ways in that lefty-lefty matchup. He should be on base. Might hit a home run. Double, triple, scoring position. Riley Ozuna, Olsen, Duvall are the guys that follow. Specifically Marcelo Ozuna, but Matt Olsen and Duvall as well have done well against left-handed pitching. A lot of opportunities for Ozzie Albies to get drawn in tonight at -115. The other number for a run scored, I have not bet. I was kind of waiting on some lineup stuff. The Padres, although it shouldn't really matter, Louis Arise bats leadoff every game for the Padres, but Arise is plus money. He's in a good spot tonight against Ciccone for the Diamondbacks, who should give up 3 to 4 earned, probably. Louis Arise then, with great hitting behind him, when that lineup comes out, keep tabs. Hits, runs, RBIs. Again, I've only bet the Ozzie Albies. I played the baseball short tonight. Maybe just double locked in on the NBA. But I did all the breakdowns. So if you want to play him, you can. Look, Jock Peterson, hits, runs, RBIs. Maybe even Pavin Smith. I don't like how far he's been moved down that lineup, though. Randy Vasquez can't get lefties out. Look, Pavin Smith. Look, Jock Peterson. Also, keep your eyes on O'Neal Cruz. Walker Buehler's really struggled against left-handed bats. Pirates Dodgers, just one more mention. How is Paul Skeens 200-1 to win Cy Young? A win against the Dodgers, 8 Ks, 5 innings. What are we doing? Move the number. 2 totals. Again, didn't play him. Maybe I will by the time we get there. But the looks under. Reds, Cubs. Green in a great bounce back spot. You want to play under 2.5 earned? I don't mind that, but Assad's been good. 9.5's the number. A lot of that is ballpark. But I'd look under in that game. And then I'd look over only if you get the flat 7 in Cards Rockies. Only if you get the flat 7. It's just a little too cheap. Cal Quantrill can get lit up. Sonny Gray can give up 1 or 2. Sonny Gray's been brilliant at home. But if he gets hit a little bit, 7's too light. But it looks like it's going to be 7.5. Coach is up next. A lot to get to. Huge basketball day. That's all next.
the Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're here. We're in the mix. It's Coach James Young, JY. Huge day. So much to get to. Let me give the people the parlay I've put in. That way we can give them a pick right away. We're going to get coaches' picks. I want to see what you think about this. It's a little silly. It's plus 112. It's 8 legs. It's an octopus.
Oh, boy.
Jason Tatum, 6+ rebounds. 6+ rebounds in every single game this postseason. Jaylen Brown, 15+ points. Good in all but one of the games so far this postseason. Drew Holiday, over 1.5 rebounds every game this postseason. Derek White, 2.5 dimes, all but one game this postseason. Luka, over 4.5 boards, good in all postseason games. 4.5 assists, all postseason games. Kyrie, 2.5 assists, all postseason games. PJ, 2.5 rebounds, all postseason games. I plan on betting this every single game. I think the juice should consistently stay plus. I could maybe move some things around if I need to. JY, an octopus at plus 112. We're in the mix. It's NBA Finals night.
Oh, I'm in there like swimwear. Oh, I love it. I mean, JY has to turn into like a double octopus and add more legs to it. You know,
that's not easy.
PJ Watson to make
a Sweet
three.
16.
Derek Lively to get a block. I mean, and listen, you know, it's a smart way to look at it, and you just hammer it every game, because those are all things that are, number one, these are all main guys, right? These are all guys
That's the key.
They're going to get heavy minutes, and you're not asking them to do anything like crazy. You're asking for them to do their average. In some cases, below their average by a little bit in order to get it there. So, you know, I think it's a very smart play. I'm not going to lie, folks. I took a picture of it. So as soon as we got a commercial break, I'm throwing it in right away.
I'll send it your way, JY. But yes, to JY's point, and it's funny he caught the. I just took the guys whose minutes are safest. That should be 35 plus up. No Kristaps, no Al, no Lively, no Gafford, not even Derrick Jones Jr. That's why I used Luka twice. We'll get to the rest of the NBA Finals.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get you your picks. Dan Hurley, Lakers, UConn. Let's go piece by piece. It's very easy to get a little too far down the road. Let's start with this. Do you think the end result is Dan Hurley as the Lakers head coach this coming season?
Kev, the best way for me to do it is kind of explain to you my morning and how it went about. So I went on with Ben and Donnie at 9:30 this morning. I reached out at about 8 o'clock this morning to people that I know that know the Hurley family. And I just said, hey, very simply put, is there legs to this? One text I got back was, Dan is going to struggle with this a little bit because he's extremely loyal. We know that, right? He's a Northeast guy. We know that. But the big caveat was he wants to coach in the NBA. So my immediately thought is, as a father and, someone that was married, it was, Andrea. Like, they got to go through the misses to get permission to go west. So then after I went on at 9:30, got off at 10, my phone went off at 10 o'clock, and I got a text from someone very, very reliable. People in Hurley's camp reached out to someone that I know and respect about whether this young man would head west to work for the Lakers. He does not work for UConn, right? But he's connected to Dan. Dan's a loyal guy. Dan's a Jersey guy. So you may see some Jersey influence on his staff or in his background, video coordinator. Kevin, when I got that word that he's trying to build a staff, that immediately said, yeah, this may happen. And then he had practice at noon. And the one thing I can tell you about Dan Hurley and the Hurley family, and I've known of the family for a long time. Obviously, I've coached against Danny. When he first got to St. Benedict's, I coached against Bob Hurley. I shouldn't even call Bob Hurley Mr. Hurley or Coach Hurley is what I call him. Kevin, they don't lie. They don't blow smoke. They're straight shooters. So when he told his kids, yes, I'm talking to the Lakers, to me, that was like this, slam dunk. I think he's going. I think the only thing we're waiting on is an announcement. And I imagine that they're going to keep this sealed to let the NBA Finals Game 1 happen tonight. My suspicion, announcement tomorrow in the off day between Games 1 and Games 2.
So similarly, in just this morning, I was hesitant. Some of the wording from Woj, planning to have preliminary discussions, escalate. It seems so early. It just didn't land for me. As the day went on, it's all anybody's talking about. He tells the team he's going to be the Lakers head coach. You can't walk this back. Hurley wants to coach in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
What would he be waiting for? What would he be waiting for? It's the Lakers. Again, he's waiting for the Knicks job. They're going to pay Tibbs. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could call the Knicks and say, hey, before you do that, would you want to fire him? But that's not happening. So I think he's going to become the head coach. Do you think it'll work? Because there's always questions about college to pro to college, more college to pro. Do you think it'll work, Dan Hurley as the Lakers head coach?
Yes, absolutely. And here's why, folks. If you looked at and this is before I even remembered the podcast in which LeBron James basically talked about, like, the offensively what Hurley is. I went deep diving this morning, and as Kevin knows this because of the NCAA tournament, I look at synergy a lot because I want to see styles of play. Folks, Dan Hurley runs, I guess, I don't know if this makes sense to people, a pro-style offense. He runs an NBA offense. He runs an offense that in the pick and roll, they're in the 99th percentile in college this past year in giving the roll. Anthony Davis. They're in the 93rd percentile in pick and roll, keeping the ball. LeBron James. But Kevin, it's so much deeper than that. College has become the pros in regards to recruiting, in regards to paying guys, in regards to changing your roster year after year. But the pros have become college, Kevin, because of skill development. The ability to take a player and get him to elevate his game is something that Dan Hurley does better than anyone else. You want proof? Tristan Newton came from East Carolina. How many of y'all knew about Tristan Newton before he got to UConn? Not many. Donovan Clingan was a 1 or 2 star recruit out of Hartford, Connecticut. No one heard of him. Wasn't a big player in the AU circuit. He's going to be a top 5 draft pick. Castle, he's the outlier. Diarra made him better. Caravan made him better. So if you're the Lakers and you're like this, I'm looking at Max Christie. I'm looking at Hachimura. I'm looking at Austin Reeves. I'm looking at Hochefino. I'm looking at these young guys, and ready, and Bronny James. If you're gonna build this team, you gotta build the young core. You got the superstar, and I think AD is 1,000% on board. This makes total sense once I look.
Everyone who knows Hurley trusts the offense will translate. So the Lakers get a guy with a resume, the gravitas, the X's and O's. There's one bit that I don't agree with. You go from JJ getting hired and LeBron staying being near 100% lock, Hurley getting hired, we're now 50-50. Is hiring Dan Hurley worth losing LeBron? We'll answer that. NBA Finals picks. It's all next.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's put a quick pause on the Dan Hurley, LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers circle. Let's get picks from Coach James Young. NBA Finals, JY, are you on the side or total? 6.5-point spread, climbing total to 17.5.
I like the Dallas Mavericks plus the points. I look at this team that I think my concern with Boston game number one is integrating back in Porzingis. I think Luka and especially Kyrie are going to be on fire early in this game. And I just feel like Boston too many times have played with their food. I don't think this is a Boston team that's going to be able to get down 15, 16 points like they've done like it's Indiana and turn around and win the game. I don't see it. Dallas is too good defensively, and they got two guys that are closers. I like Dallas plus the 6.5. For plays, I also like P.J. Washington over 11.5 points. I've already told people I like the P.J. Washington 10-plus points in every game this series. I'm going with P.J. to do that. And listen, I don't think Kyrie's going to wait. I could see Kyrie second side of the floor. Kyrie Irving gets going early. Kyrie Irving over 4.5 points in the first quarter. And I actually went to DK in the threes day, and I went Kyrie. I think he's 8.5 to 1 to hit the first three. I think he's getting the first shot. And he's gonna knock it down.
I'll say this. It should happen. I thought he would stop doing the whole waiting game with the Minnesota series, or at some point in the OKC series. Game 1 against Minnesota, he had like 24 in game 1 in the first half. Only finished with 30. It's just kind of his thing, but you might catch it. I like it. We're in the mix. Let's go back to the Dan Hurley thing. I mentioned, are you willing to lose LeBron if it means bringing in Dan Hurley? I want to preface this, though. If that is the end result, it's fine. The Lakers have made other decisions that I will never be able to comprehend. The BS report the other day that, they made a real good offer for Kyrie. Cut it out. You passed on a DeJounte Murray. Okay, you constantly. Mistakes. You didn't bail on the Russ thing. Again, if LeBron made the decisions, they'd have another championship. If you say Hurley, who could coach this team for a decade plus, is more important than LeBron, who I think only plays for 2 more years, that is okay. But it's a reality. And why I believe that, Coach, is it lends itself to stuff that you just said. Player development. Adrian Wojnarowski might have said it 100 times today when explaining why the Lakers want Dan Hurley. Max Christie, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. Cool. Go develop him. LeBron has 2 years left. He is somehow still one of the 10 best players in the world. The Lakers' number 1 priority is Dan Hurley. Their number 2 priority is AD. That's why the Borrego stuff hasn't gone away. You can't be a top 10 player in this league and not be a top 2 priority. It is time to go. The Lakers are not about winning a title next year. They're about long term. That's fine. It's time to go then, JY.
I can understand everything you said, but at the end of the day, there's no way they're not making this decision and they're not talking to LeBron. And what's amazing about Dan is not only is his offensive concepts relatable to the NBA, but just look at his defensive coverages. Look at the way he played differently with Adonis Sanogo being more aggressive on ball screens than playing drop coverage and protecting the rim with Donovan Clingan. You even saw it with Clingan and Johnson. When Johnson came in the game, they were a little bit more aggressive on their ball screen defense. I think Dan Hurley is a chameleon, and I think LeBron is looking at this as, can this guy get us one more shot? And I think what you see is when you deal with a Hurley, especially defensive concepts, they are meticulous in what they do. I was shocked how sloppy defensively the Lakers were with Darvin Ham. You even give me the game number 1. Whoa. We don't want to show all of our cards yet for defending the Joker. You know why, Kevin? He didn't have any. Dan Hurley is good enough that I think with some tinkering and some moves, I think the Lakers can play themselves right back to a championship level team. I really do believe so. I think he can do it. And maybe this is my Jersey bias. Maybe this is my Hurley bias. But I refuse the fact that Dan Hurley is going to be like, okay, I'm going to take over this team. He's too competitive to take over a team and be like, let's try and win. Let's try and be 500 first year. That's not the way Dan Hurley's built.
I understand that, but he didn't go to UConn and win a title his first year, right? Dan Hurley, I think was the first game he won in the tournament 2 years ago? Was that his first tournament win? He's going to get a contract that's going to be at minimum 7 years long. It's okay. It's JY. I'll put it to you like this. Forget Hurley. If you're LeBron, the Lakers are 40-1 to win the title next year, right? Currently, the Cavs, using a DraftKings number. I think somebody bet Cavs today, by the way, on FanDuel. The Cavs are 40-1 on DraftKings. If LeBron goes to Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell stays, they move some things around. It's the East. He doesn't have a better chance to win a title in Cleveland next year?
Oh, listen, if he goes anywhere east, if LeBron James decides he wants to go to the Knicks have a better chance. I mean, now you're talking about him leaving and going to the East. That's completely different than staying out west. But to me, I just feel like there's no way that this is happening, and Jeannie Buss is like, I don't care what LeBron thinks. I'm going to go make this move anyway. I don't think it's in the best.
I think it's possible, and let me say this, and it won't be. I think when they keep Rich Paul and Clutch won't stop telling everyone that LeBron's not involved. It might be his own decision. We'll be right back. We're live with you here on SportsGrid.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, despite the fact that I could do about 7 hours on the Hurley Lakers carousel, I have to stop. No, I have to stop. Here's a report per Coach Joe Mazzulla. Kristaps won't have a minutes limit in Game 1. What are your thoughts, Coach, when you hear that heading into tonight's game?
19-1. What was he? 19-1 to lead the series in rebounding? Hello. Where are we at? I may go play that some more. Listen, I think this is about one thing. I don't know, Kevin, how much Joe Mazzulla can actually trust Al Horford in this series. I think you and I have talked about this. They're not going to go double barrel big. And they're not going to play Luke, clarinet, cornet much either. I think they need KP to win the series. And they need him to play well. And I love his prop to lead the series in rebounding. I think it was 19-1. It may have dropped, but I like him to lead the series in rebounds.
As I told you, the Kristaps shot is 5+ boards at plus 350 in each game of this series, which I think would have to be a winner for JY's bet to come in. Coach, were there any other futures bets you've made? Anything else that stood out to you around this series? Anything you're looking to identify here tonight as we head into this first game?
Well, I mean, to me, when you look at it, I think it's a critical game for a team in Dallas. I think there's a pathway for them to win this series in order to get game one. So there's sometimes a thought of Dallas Mavericks game one series play at plus 420. Something that's intrigued that. I haven't put it in yet. I do like Luka to have the most made threes at plus 110. I'm very much into it. And listen, all aboard the PJ Washington train. 10+ points every game, 3.5 to 1. The last 6 times, Kevin, he's played the Celtics, the lowest point total he had, if I'm not mistaken, was 14. He's going to get 10+ points every game. So if I'm going to do 11.5 game one, I might as well turn around and try and do 10+ and try and see if I can get going with PJ Washington.
All right, you're in on PJ. JY, any WNBA bets for you before we let you go?
Well, 2, matter of fact, and I'm going to our girl. Angel, don't get thrown out. Don't do the JY wave off. Stay in the game. Angel Reese over 8.5 rebounds. Mystic are 9th in defensive rebounding percentage. The Sky are 2nd in offensive rebounding percentage. One of the best offensive rebounders in Angel Reese. And overall rebounding percentage, Mystics are dead last, and they miss a ton of shots. I'm going to go with Angel Reese over 8.5 rebounds, and I'm going to go with the Liberty over 84.5 points. I know no salute tonight, but I feel like, Kevin, they're starting to get it going. And when I mean get it going, I'm talking about Stewie. I think we have a problem stopping Stewie tonight, and that sets up a fascinating game Saturday when New York heads to Mohegan Sun Arena to take on the Connecticut Sun. I think they're going to get it done tonight, but I like their team total more, over 84.5 points.
I realized I actually forgot to ask you something very important on the UConn thing. Kamani Young, what do you expect, head coach, if Hurley goes?
I think they're going to go get a big name, and 3 names. And one of them, my best friend Donnie mentioned. The name that he mentioned to me, which made sense, Steve Peichel. 1, ready? He's doing a big job recruiting if he can bring Brandon Knight with him. But also the fact that Peichel is a UConn graduate. 2 other guys, Northeast ties. 1, Ed Cooley. I mean, he was at Providence one year. Then he went to Georgetown. Why not just go to UConn? Ed Cooley is, to me, still, I think, is one of the top 10 to 15 coaches in the country. And then the one that I pray I'm wrong. Kevin, I know people think he'll never do this in league, but money talks too, and he's upset with what's going on in NIL. Shaheen Holloway.
Interesting. It's going to be one of the assistants because they're going to try not to lose every single guy that's currently on that roster to the portal, and it still might not be enough. Coach, best of luck tonight. We're going to talk to Raheem Palmer next right here on SportsGrid.
the Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, back right here, Game Time Decisions. We're live on this Thursday. Appreciate Coach stopping by. Dodgers are up 4-0. Freddie Freeman with a 3-run homer. So they're in the mix early against the Pirates. See what happens when Paul Skeens isn't out there? Huh? A little Cy Young? I'm going to end up just trying to root him in to win the whole thing. Scoreless right now in Atlanta and Washington. Let's talk NBA Finals Game 1. Let's just put these picks up on the board for everybody once again in case you're just tuning in, top of the hour style. Great coverage tonight, in-game live. The crew will have you ready to go. We're going to talk to Raheem Palmer in just a bit here on the show. For me tonight, Gafford Lively over 16.5 combined, 11-2 in their last 13 healthy games this postseason. I'm removing Game 3 where Lively was hurt early and didn't play at all in Game 4. I'm going to take Tatum and Brown over 50.5 combined. Dominated this number in the regular season matchup with the Dallas Mavericks. 4-0 against the number with the Pacers, hitting 6 of the last 7 games that we saw in the playoffs. And taking a chance on Kristaps over 3.5 first quarter points, minus 120 juice. Some news around Kristaps that he does not have a minutes limit tonight. That's dangerous. I'd still be careful on KP props. He could be a full go. Let's get some help here breaking this all down. It's Raheem Palmer. Does great work over at The Ringer. He's been with us throughout a lot of this postseason. Raheem, great to talk to you. Tell me, I know you've been kind of tweeting through it in the lead up to this series. Have you decided on a pick to win in the finals?
Yes, I like the Boston Celtics in this series. I mean, big reason why is we look at this Boston Celtics team, they are a historically great team. You're talking about a team that went 64-18 during the regular season. Like, 72-20? And, teams who are that great, they typically don't lose in the finals. Me personally, my motto makes this. I mean, Boston Celtics -7.5, -8. I mean, if you're looking at full season numbers, you're talking about 9. And the biggest reason I like the Celtics here is that I think they have the guys to throw at Luka. I think they have the guys to throw at Kyrie. Maybe you don't necessarily shut those guys down, but I think they can, defend them pretty well. And then on the offensive end of the floor, you look at the Dallas Mavericks. They are a team that's built to defend the paint. If you talk about what the Dallas Mavericks have done well during the postseason, they were 4th in defensive field goal percentage at the rim, 59%. Well, they're taking on a Boston Celtics team which shoots 47% of their shots from behind the arc. So the Dallas Mavericks, they beat the Los Angeles Clippers with Zubac, they don't play 5 out. Zubac is playing inside of the paint. You look at who they faced in the Western Conference Finals. They took on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert. They're basically playing 4-on-5 on offense. So they didn't have to worry about him stepping out and shooting the three. Well, they do have to worry about Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford stepping out and shooting the three. And that's going to open things up for everybody else. So I think the Dallas Mavericks, they're in a world of trouble trying to slow down this Boston Celtics offense.
Yeah, I think part of that, Raheem, is why I think this is an offensive series. And that 214.5, that was the hanging total for quite some time, has now started to get smashed a bit. It's up to 217.5 here. Do you feel that overall this will be a higher scoring series than the books initially expected?
Yes, without a doubt. I actually had my model made this game around 217.5, and I actually instructed everybody to take the over for tonight. I gave out the over 214. I gave this out last Friday. I gave it out again yesterday. I gave it out again today. So it's just, I mean, I think we got the best of the number.
Yeah, you absolutely did. I went Celtics team total at 110.5 because like you, I'm on Boston. I trust that portion of it more. We know that the Mavericks have at times not shown up in game number 1. It's kind of what made the Minnesota series an outlier, and it's why your trend of this is, again, like just you compare, you bring all these things together. Dallas rarely wins games 1, but they can still win series. Minnesota's game 7 trend coming off the Denver series meant they were going to lose game 1. Which means the Mavericks were going to steal a game that they don't normally even need.
Yeah.
And that's how we got a Celtics-Mavericks NBA Finals, which is what we have on our hands here. Have you found any other ways, and I don't know how many ways you want to attack Boston in the futures market. For me, I played a Tatum Finals MVP. I don't see any way they win this series, and he doesn't get handed that trophy. Have you looked for other ways to bet Boston?
Yo, so I'm so glad that you mentioned Tatum Finals MVP because I think he's being undervalued based on what we saw in the last series. I mean, I know Tatum hasn't been shooting the ball very well, but you're talking about prices on Tatum MVP, minus 120, minus 125. Even with Tatum losing the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he was still minus 2,100 to win Finals MVP at halftime of Game 4. So at bare minimum, you get a good price on Tatum, and you could, take a shot on somebody else. Now, I would suggest Boston Celtics minus 1.5 to win the series. You can get that at plus 106. I also took the Boston Celtics 4-2 plus, in 6 games, plus 470 because, I mean, look, I would typically look to play the Celtics in 5 games if Kristaps were healthy and we knew how things were going. But we know, like, the Celtics like to play around with their food. I'm giving Luka and Kyrie enough credit that they could win 2 games, but I think this Boston Celtics team, they're a juggernaut. They've been a juggernaut all season long. I don't see this going to 7, so I took a shot on them winning in 6 games at plus 470.
Yeah, I actually think it's an incredible number. So I initially said I said Celtics in 7. I'm not married to that, right? I trust them. There's been a lot of debate, I know, for people of, if it gets to a 7th game, they're in trouble. I don't think that at all. They played a Game 7 against Giannis. They played a Game 7 against Embiid. Those were awful basketball games that the Celtics won by 1 billion points. But the fact that, just using a FanDuel number here, Boston 4-2 is plus 470 compared to Boston 4-3 is plus 340. I can't play that plus 340. That doesn't make much of any sense to me that it's such a shorter number, Raheem, for a 7th game when it's supposed to be a shorter series by the book's eyes.
Yeah, it's actually stunning to me, but I think they're pricing Game 5 to win in 5 the same way that they're pricing the Game 7. So, like, it's actually stunning to me that you're getting that number on Game 6. Yeah, I think it's stunning to me that you're getting that number on Game 6. So I agree with you.
Little technical hiccup there on us. We are talking with Raheem, though. Kind of just the value of how many games to bet Boston in. I didn't get to hear you. I don't know if the people did, Raheem. I think it would be worth repeating. You're going to hang around anyway for a couple more minutes. But the value on the Boston in 6 at plus 470, I think as long as they have the chance to close out in Game 6 up 3-2, it's an incredible ticket.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible, too. And it just seems like they're pricing the Celtics to win in Game 5 as having a better chance than them winning in Game 6. But I'm personally just giving the Dallas Mavericks credit for having Luka and Kyrie and then having Jason Kidd, who's coached tremendously during this postseason. I just can't see the Celtics winning this in 5 with KP coming off an injury and with the way they play around. I do like the matchup for the Celtics, but I think 6 is the most likely outcome.
Yeah, and that's, again, it can go 7. Part of that is I'd be confident of Boston in a 7th game. I can't play it at the current number. I'm curious how the market moves after we see the game tonight. Like, if Boston goes up 1-0, you'll have to short everything else. We'll be right back here with Raheem Palmer talking more NBA Finals.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back right here, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you on this Thursday night, talking to Raheem Palmer of The Ringer. Raheem, I know you're looking for the over in this game. Makes plenty of sense. What else are you looking for here in Game 1?
So I do like Kristaps Porzingis over 1.5 made threes. I also like Al Horford over 1.5 made threes for the reasons we discussed earlier about how the Mavericks protect the paint, but they're not necessarily built to protect the three-point line. So I like those. I also like Derek Lively over 7.5 rebounds, and I also like Derek Lively over 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think one of the things you saw from Derek Lively is that he's beating up on these second units. And I think the interesting thing in this series is that I think Jason Tatum is going to pre-switch. They'll probably put Tatum on like a PJ Washington and then have Kristaps or Al Horford on Lively to switch that pick and roll. So I think you'll have a lot of opportunities for Lively to get some rebounds. So I like both of those.
So let me stick on Lively for a second. You today I saw posited an interesting question about Luka and his finals appearances. And here he is in his first at the age of 25. If he's going to continuously go, Derek Lively is going to be a big part of it. What I think becomes very interesting is that this team, the goal is to have Luka, right, for another 15 years. They're going to have to cycle through one, if not two more co-stars. Kyrie is going to eventually, I guess, get paid by Dallas. There's an old road tripping podcast, way old, when he was talking about retiring way earlier than people think. And I always wondered if he's just going to, like Kyrie walking away at the end of this finals, it's a more than 0% chance. That's just Kyrie Irving. Yeah. I think the biggest thing for Dallas, and maybe one of the biggest things for the future of the league, is how successful Luka can be in recruiting a Kyrie replacement when the time comes.
Yeah, I think people don't realize Kyrie, I mean, even though he's only 31 years old, he's been in the league 13 years. So this is an old 31-year-old player. And Kyrie hasn't been the healthiest player throughout the course of his career. So, when I asked that question on Twitter, how many more Luka finals appearances we were going to get, I really wanted to just, take note of the fact that they can't take this opportunity for granted, because I don't think Kyrie has that much more time left as an elite player in this league. I mean, like, how many guys play for 20 years? He's in year 13 now, regardless of how young he is. And you look at the fact that, like, you have to be able to find that second co-star. And then we all know how in the modern NBA, the salary cap and the CBA, it's not set up for dynasties. And you got a stacked West. You got Wembanyama. He's going to be a transcendent star. You got Jokic still here. You got SGA in that Oklahoma City Thunder team. So, like, not everybody's going to be Michael Jordan and being able to hold a whole generation of stars in one conference away from getting to the title. So that's why I asked that question.
Now, I will say, I hate you used Michael there instead of LeBron, because LeBron held the East completely hostage for much longer. LeBron didn't give them a gift retirement, but that's fine. What I will say is the Kyrie age of it all, he might be on that roster, and they need another next best player. But to emphasize your point, imagine you would have put that same poll up before Bucks Suns 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Giannis, and this is kind of a big thing, just because we're kind of at the point now where you start to put your eye on those 2024 title odds. They're out. Giannis is getting very close to Joel Embiid unreliability health-wise when the playoffs start. He's been injured in 4 of the last 5 playoffs, Raheem. It's a big issue for the Milwaukee Bucks and why they can't get to the finals, despite the fact that the whole run, he's been viewed as the first or second best player in the league.
Yes, it's actually pretty incredible, because I think if you had asked that same question before the Bucks finals, I think people viewed this team as like kind of like a shoo-in to have multiple titles, and they haven't been back since. I agree. And then it's not just Giannis staying healthy. The other guys haven't been able to stay healthy. We know Chris Middleton.
Yep.
He's been banged up. So it takes a lot of luck to get to an NBA finals, and it remains to be seen if Dallas is going to have that luck after this year.
I think the fact that, Jimmy Butler was more reliable to get to a conference finals than Giannis, it's just one of the odd things. And again, but it's why that player movement's probably never going to stop. I just want to see if at any point, and it kind of is something I talked to you a little bit about off air, but the Hurley Lakers stuff, if LeBron is about winning titles, don't you jump east, right? I think the East is a little bit better than people realize, but it's not as top heavy. If LeBron joined your Sixers, would they be? They might be title favorites, Raheem. You probably wouldn't be happy somehow.
LeBron is not about winning titles at this point in his career. LeBron is he is about building his post basketball career, and being in Los Angeles allows him to do that. So I think that's what it's about. And yes, he wants to win a title, but I don't think it's the end of the world for him. I think he's building his post NBA career. He's making his family happy. He's being it's a lot of decisions, but the title is not the main thing. If it were, he would leave the Lakers.
I mean, I'll say this. People said that when he first went to LA, he won a title.
Yeah.
If he does decide to stay now, I think, it's not priority one. But We'll see. We'll see. They also might give him everything he wants if they end up just hiring J.J. Redick and drafting Bronny, and then it'll be the L.A. LeBrons, and he'll be plenty happy with that. Any other quick closing thoughts on Game 1 tonight, Reem, before we let you go?
I think just for the series, Luka top point scorer, minus 180. Luka Doncic over 30 and a half points per game for the series. I like those, but I gave you guys everything else, so that's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Look, Raheem, we appreciate it. Best of luck with all the action, and I'm sure we'll check in again. Raheem Palmer of The Ringer. Thanks, Raheem.
No doubt. You have a good one.
All right, great stuff there from Raheem. Look, it's going to be a great game tonight. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how things move. You know, Boston at minus 225 is by far the shortest series number we have seen on this team all postseason long. So if this team does lose Game 1 tonight, could we see Celtics as a dog? I don't think it'd go that far, but that's kind of what we're talking about here for an NBA Finals, and there's going to be a lot of movements off that. We're going to the horses next. Belmont Stakes preview here on SportsGrid.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, right back here. Game time decisions. We kind of go local now. Horse racing in New York. Joining us now is David Aragona. But here's the thing, David. I have an issue with this. Belmont. It's not Belmont. They're at Saratoga. The thing for me is I only know that because I'm from New York, right? And partly because you reminded me, if I'm really honest. Does it change anything for the horse bettor, the preparations, the fact that this is in Saratoga, not Belmont?
Yeah, typically the Belmont Stakes is kind of New York City's race. Not the case this year, about 2.5 hours upstate in Saratoga Springs. The big difference is the distance of the race had to change. Saratoga is a different configuration of the racetrack than Belmont Park. So typically this is a real test of stamina for these 3-year-olds going 1.5 miles at Belmont. This year they had to shorten the race to the Kentucky Derby distance of 1.25 miles. So I think it removes that level of uncertainty about which horses are going to handle the distance. It also creates a race where I think we've got some horses running that otherwise might not have going the 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun to watch it play out, though, because still this is kind of the ending piece here. Mystic Dan in the fold once again. What do you expect from Mystic Dan? I believe priced at 5-1 heading into the Belmont.
Yeah, he's the only horse that's trying all 3 legs of the Triple Crown this year, and it's a tough thing to do. It's 3 races in 5 weeks. That's kind of bucking the typical schedules for these top horses that like to race about every month. So I think it makes it difficult for a horse like Mystic Dan to sort of cycle back up to that peak effort that we saw from him when he won the Kentucky Derby at 18-1. I didn't see a big excuse for him when he finished second in the Preakness 3 weeks ago, but reportedly he's been training well into this race, so they're expecting him to put up another solid effort once again. I haven't been on the Mystic Dan bandwagon yet, so I'm not going to jump on for this race, but I won't be surprised when he runs okay again.
Now, what stood out to me is, as I was looking through the names, Sierra Leone, and if I'm correct, boy, I hope I am, was Sierra Leone one of the favorite horses back when we were talking about the Kentucky Derby? So this is kind of a reappearance here for Sierra Leone?
Yeah, he was the second favorite in the Kentucky Derby, kind of vying for favoritism with Fierceness, who kind of just blew up in that race. Right. And we haven't seen him since. But Sierra Leone, he was kind of the reliable horse coming in, and he ran his race. He only lost to Mystic Dan by a nose, and some people would argue if he didn't sort of get into a bumping match with the third-place finisher, he might have actually won the race. That's kind of the issue with Sierra Leone, though. When you watch him run, he's got this tendency to lean on horses, to lug in, and not be so focused in the stretch runs of the races. They switched up the jockey for this race, hoping that alleviates the problem. I think there's a feeling out there that he's the most talented of these 3-year-olds heading into the Belmont, but I think that's going to also create a situation where he's going to be a substantial favorite.
Are there any, then, potential value horses that are kind of catching your eye as we head into this race?
I got a couple of them. I think that Seize the Gray, the upset Preakness winner, isn't really getting the respect that he deserves for beating Mystic Dan in that race. You might remember the Preakness was run over a muddy racetrack that got a lot of rain at Pimlico, so he handled it, obviously, but he also might just be a horse that's moving in the right direction. He's supposed to lead this field early, breaking from the inside post position. He led the field every step of the way in the Preakness, and I'm not going to discount him at what probably is going to be a similar price to what he was in the Preakness. The horse that I'm most interested in, though, is the number 8, Honor Marie. I had some interest in this horse going into the Kentucky Derby. He just had a tough trip that day, got pinballed around at the start, was out the back early, had some more trouble after that heading into the first turn. It was just kind of a disastrous journey for him, and we didn't really get to find out how good he was compared to some of these other horses. I thought he was coming into the Kentucky Derby like a horse that was really moving ahead at the right time, and he's reportedly trained well since that race. So at what's going to be a nice price once again, he's a horse that I just have to give another shot to.
And then lastly, David, and I know we'll check in over the weekend, weather-wise, what are the early expectations?
I think there were some big concerns early in the week when the forecast first came out that it was just going to be a total washout through the entire 4 days of this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Rain didn't fall as predicted today. They kind of held off on it a little bit, and the forecast has really brightened through tomorrow and Saturday, so it's seeming now like we're probably going to have a fast, dry racetrack for the big race on Saturday.
Well, that should be a lot of fun then. And I know, again, you'll help us get set there for Saratoga, Belmont. You get the deal. David Aragona, we appreciate it. And again, we'll talk over the weekend.
Sounds good.
All right, awesome stuff there. Look, we're going to talk to Dave Sharapan coming up here, who's going to be live tonight for the NBA Finals action, which is, of course, going to be massive. It's going to be the big game. But also keeping eyes on this baseball board. With a lead right now for the Dodgers, but at 4-1, Minnesota up on the Yanks. Currently right now 1-0, scoreless in Washington, Atlanta, as well as Reds, Cubs. We'll be right back. We're live here on SportsGrid.
the Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bins?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this. Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, "Look, don't come back." I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh. I'm in tip-top shape. First segment, speed bump. It's like I missed my first 3 shots and been rolling ever since. Consigs here, Celtics gears on.
Yeah.
What's the word, Dave?
Oh, baby. Good to see you. Hard to follow my man Raheem. I saw him and you guys talking. The racing form, the Belmont. There's big games going on everywhere, including in Pittsburgh, where the Pirates are losing to the Dodgers, going for the sweep. Snow Skeens, I heard you take a shot earlier at the Pirates. Oh, okay. The Pirates aren't winning because Skeens isn't pitching. I'm just saying.
My Cy Young.
I heard it all. But I've heard
all right
nonstop 9 days ago. That was the last time there was an NBA game. And for about 8 of the days, everybody's been talking about the Mavericks.
Yep.
And you got to take the points. And you got to take them in a series. You got to take the Luka to win it all. And I said, well, it's game 1. What am I going to wear for the show? I got to do the rest of the night here on SportsGrid, me and Ranieri. Hopefully, apparently you're busy. That's okay. No problem. Didn't have time for you to pop in to talk about the series or the game, in-game live. I had to wear the Celtics stuff, Kevin. It's not personal.
Yeah.
Peralt's been just beating it down on Bostonian versus the book. We've had people on the show all week. Everybody comes in and says, Dallas is going to win. Wow, really? It's been like they're one of the biggest upsets in the last 30 years based on the money line. Crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The whole thing bothers me. Where were all these Dallas people when we were cashing Western Conference futures?
We told them.
They couldn't see clearly then.
We told them right here on the show they were going to beat Minnesota. We told them.
Can I tell you something that's interesting, though?
I love when you do this.
With Peralt.
What?
It's been catching my eye. And I kind of think I like it, mainly because I'm on Boston in the series, probably. But the Matt I talked to versus the Matt on Twitter, the confidence level wasn't the same from what I saw.
No.
Matt on Twitter has Celtics in 5. The Peralta I talked to in person, I think, has him in 6 or 7. I kind of like it, though. You know what it is? He doesn't like anyone talking down his team. Since I'm on Boston, I think we got the more honest version of it all.
You're good.
He's excited though. Understandable.
Excited.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Or do I wait? It's about some Lakers Hurley stuff. Or do you want to finish the game? You tell me.
I was going to come on in the Laker gear. I didn't want to hear about it. I didn't want to get an email or anything because I saw JY on as well. You know, you've had the whole crew. I've been kind of hanging out, watching on the grid. If you're not watching on the grid, download the app, watch the grid, smart TVs.
There you go.
Everywhere you can get it. That one was free. That was really interesting. And I was going to come on the Lakers stuff because I said, he got to be going. How much money is Connecticut going to give him? They're going to make him. They're going to give him the state.
There isn't enough.
There's not enough.
There isn't enough. We can get to that end of it. But the other day, Shams said it was going to be J.J. Redick, basically.
Yeah.
And I loosely said, if there were odds, he'd be about minus 1,000.
Yeah.
I didn't realize some places had the odds.
Yes.
You had from what I could see, but it's the only reason it came up on my timeline, a brief interaction. Fella named Maz.
Yep.
Now, I don't know Maz. We're good with Maz. Last
Maz
3 letters
good.
in the Twitter handle are NYC. I like what I'm seeing there, at least.
Maz is good.
But I need an explanation. And you might be in a spot to explain on Maz's behalf, but you seem to maybe somewhat agree. I have questions, right?
Yes.
It appears that Maz, maybe yourself, took issue with the Shams report that they're zeroing in on JJ, and people can bet on this stuff, and it looks like it's going to be Hurley. What is your takeaway from Shams clearly, at the moment, heading down, getting this way wrong?
As the book, you have to decide what markets you want to put up. If you put up the markets and somebody with millions of followers and a platform and a partner with a book says something, you have to be prepared for market movement, deluges of money, guys driving Brinks trucks in to bet it or bet against it. My thing was, I would be the guy in the room to sit with you and whomever else we're sitting and say we got DRS sitting next to us, and we could ask BSS if he wanted to come in and hang out with us as well and say, all right, look, do we need to put this up? Do we need to take bets on this? Probably not, because what if it's not him? What if we just got a report? I don't know. I don't like the draft stuff. Betting-wise, I never did.
Right.
I'm a book guy by heart. Next coach? How about we bet on the baseball, the games? How about we find some props for the basketball?
Here's my thing, Dave. They have starting quarterback week 1. We get these markets, right? We will be breaking down NBA draft in 3 weeks. And I look forward to it. And again, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. So let me remove our now good friend Maz.
Okay.
I need to reach out to Maz, talk to Maz.
Yeah.
But there are some people who will see that and go, Shams said JJ, that way FanDuel could take all those JJ bets and cash tickets. First of all, Shams is not going to destroy his credibility to get a percentage of a FanDuel hold in a market.
Nah.
Secondly, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to pay back every bet. Hurley has been listed nowhere. So they're probably going to have to pay back every single bet in the market.
There's a field bet.
I know, house rules.
There's a field bet. If there's a field bet, he pays the field.
Right. The thing is, I don't know because it's a Canadian market that's not even up anymore. There's LeBron next team odds. Might have to jump on a plane. Nevertheless, Nevertheless,
We got a guy. Is your passport up to date? I'll pick you up.
I will say, if you saw that JJ tweet or that Shams tweet and bet JJ, I understand the move. What I'll say is, if you did that and bet it at minus 115 and all it did was move to minus 160, something's way wrong. Something's way wrong. But more so, Shams is not going to get it wrong to help FanDuel. They pay him to be correct. So that is the only thing I take issue with. Because again, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but Shams working for FanDuel, Shams getting it wrong, are both realities that I don't think have to do with one another.
Completely unrelated. Could be seen as being related. Two separate things. I can tell you this, the book's not moving a number based on Shams' report. Ever. You take bets. Somebody bets it.
But this is...
You move
it. Click, 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 click.
That's fine.
That's all you got to do.
Right.
I think it is important that at no point anyone even entertains the idea that Shams wrote a nice piece for The Athletic because FanDuel said, hey, percentage of the hold coming your way, pal. Because that is crazy. We'll talk more finals, some baseball, all here next.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Just reading a box score here. Nats Braves. 000 somewhere. I don't know what I'm looking at. Be a real shame if Ozzie Alsby sent one out. Be a real shame. Be a real shame. It's Mitchell Parker. Red hot. It's red hot. Dave, I don't want to spend too much time on the baseball, but was there anything you were looking for here tonight?
Fascinating story going on in baseball. Everybody's waiting for football. Everybody only bets football. The biggest hedges are football. Chicago White Sox are home today against the Boston Red Sox. They've lost 13 in a row. If you would have been on this streak, you would have bet them 13 times. You'd have laid the money line. I think you'd be up 10 units, something like that, whatever it is. I mean, to win 1 unit, you'd be up 13 units. It's 13 wins in a row. The Boston Red Sox are minus 250 today on the road. They're a 500 team. Now, Houck's been great. Don't get me wrong. I just thought that would be an interesting talking point. The White Sox at home the last 2 days had a lead against the Cubs, and both nights during in-game live with Wetzel, we both said take the runs on the run line, plus 4.5, plus 140. He took plus 2.5 yesterday. I believe it was plus 150. Money lines, plus 700, plus 500, a lot of different options. I think that'll game that. You know, the Boston theme is all working together. So that's the one that I think, we got to keep an eye on. I mean, the Yankees are playing the Twins. What's the surprise there? I mean, the Yankees are going to beat the Twins again. That's the only other one that they beat the Twins every day.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. This Yanks team, real special. Looks real special. Looks real special.
Yeah.
Orioles, though, not letting them get any real breathing room.
All of the Yankee gear that I can. And it's cold gear for October, if you know what I'm saying. I'm getting
I like what I'm hearing
the
there.
good stuff with the long sleeves, just in case.
I like what I'm hearing.
This might be the year. Yeah.
Judge underneath 2-1 to win AL MVP. All right, let's talk. All right, let's go back to the finals here. Let me run through some stuff for you. You tell me what jumps out if you hear it. I'll give you one because
what's the octopus thing? What's the octopus thing? You went crazy with.
You know
the
what?
octopus.
I'm glad. Yeah, I did. It's an 8-leg parlay that pays plus 112.
Wow.
And I plan on doing it every game in this series. Shall we? Let's dance.
What's the worst?
Tatum 6
that
plus
goes? 6-2.
Worst. Yeah.
Absolute worst. If that's the odds, it has to be a 6-2.
Over under winning legs
now.
is 6.5. Over under winning legs is 6.5.
You got them in front of you. Can you run this thing?
Oh, I can. I got the legs for it. You want the juice on each leg too, or no?
Bet with price. Bet with price. We'll pretend like I'm at the register at the grocery store. Wow, look at this!
All right,
look at this thing. Let's go.
Yeah, no, that's the whole kit and caboodle. Let me see. Now, some things could have moved. All right, Jaylen Brown, 15 plus points, minus 1450. He's done this in all but one postseason game so far.
This is just for tonight.
Tatum,
or this is series
just for
bets?
tonight.
Okay.
No,
perfect.
these are just for tonight, but I'm probably going to bet it every single game. Tatum, 6 plus rebounds.
Okay.
It was minus 1,100. It's down to minus 1,050 value. He's done this in every single postseason game.
Yep.
Drew Holiday is one of my favorites. Over 1.5 rebounds, minus 4,000. My goodness. I mean, come on now. Derek White, Drew's done that in every playoff game. Derek White, over 2.5 dimes. He's done that in all but one game so far this postseason. That leg is at minus 1,000. That's the Boston portion of it. All right?
All right. Yeah.
Now, for Dallas, we need reliable minutes. We really only have 3 guys. We use Luka twice. Luka over 4.5 assists, minus 4,500. Over 4.5 rebounds was also, I think, minus 4,500. It's moved. It's now minus 3,500.
Okay.
Some movement there.
All right.
Those have hit in every single game so far this postseason. Kyrie, over 2.5 assists, minus 700. Has hit in every game these playoffs. Minus 700, cheap number.
Yeah.
And then lastly, P.J. Washington, over 2.5 boards, is at the moment positioned at 18-1. That's the parlay. Because I was clicking as we were going, is now plus 103. People were probably slamming it. Throughout the day.
Why wouldn't they if you put this out? I mean, We do this, when I'm on with Wetzel, he does the same game parlay, and we try to look at the thing that's going to beat you. What's going to beat you on this? It's not the Holiday one. I don't think it's the Luka ones. Kyrie, I don't think. Is it the P.J. Washington? Or
So
is it
P.J.
the Derek
Washington has
White?
P.J. Washington has 4 rebounds in every playoff game, and all but 3 games as a Maverick. And I took it down. Here's what I would say, and it's the riskiest. Tatum 6 rebounds. Kyrie 2.5 assists. Riskiest, right? Because if you add in the regular season stuff, your rates go a little bit. Now they're still preposterous, right? I mean, they're still huge, consistent cashes, but but that's kind of where we are. I would say Tatum and Kyrie would be the worry legs if that's what you wanted, but I don't.
Okay.
Over under 6.5 winning legs is the prop. What would you say?
Well, my first thought is it's 6-2 at worst. So if I could go over, I get 2 numbers at over. I'd probably play the over. Now,
all right.
That means I will not be surprised if this hits. I will be extremely surprised if that under comes in. If you go 5-3, something went wrong. Somebody got
Way
hurt.
wrong.
Somebody
Way wrong.
Somebody got in deep foul trouble, couldn't play. Something bad happened. If you go less than 6,
supposed to be blowout proof. We shall see. We'll do the rest of the picks next. We'll close it out. Dave's getting set for a huge in-game live. He's going to stick around.
The Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
You get a full and true assessment on how your ball club looks for the entirety of an MLB campaign. So, how did you look at this Memorial Day weekend around the bids?
There's at least a half a dozen teams right now that you know that are completely out of it and are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think you could probably look at it the other way too, and then everybody else is sort of in between, and that's the hard part to figure out between now and the trade deadline.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this. Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, "Look, don't come back." I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
what do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's run through them one last time. Dave, I know you have to get where you're going, but I'd like to have you if you don't mind. One last time, NBA Finals picks. We'll do the Game 1 picks. We'll do the futures. And I just want to make sure that the people are ready. We did the octopus. All right. Game 1.
Yeah.
We do not often see these. They were pulled as the series went on. combo bets of players on the same team.
Whoa.
DK doesn't do them. FD does them. Gafford Lively over 16.5 combined. I don't care who does what, but this duo is 11-2 over this number in the last healthy 13 postseason games we have.
Wow.
Tatum Brown over 50.5 combined. 4-0 in the Pacers series, 6 out of the last 7. They averaged, I think it was like 60, I want to say, maybe 65 a game combined. I think it was 65 combined against Dallas regular season. And then we go Kristaps over 3.5 first quarter points. 22-3 in his last 25 regular season games. Averaged 7 first quarter points in the regular season. And it was 3-1 in the postseason. Short number because they don't know about the minutes. First quarter minutes are the safest. That's your card for game number 1 minus the best bet, which is Celtics team total over 110.5, Dave.
Yeah, I've been telling people.
Oh, and that's the threes day.
What is that? First made 3? You took a shot at that? What is that?
Yeah, it's the threes day. They're giving us bonus juice back. Listen, we get money back for every 3 that's made. PJ plus 850 rooted in. I forgot about that one. It's a busy day.
The plus 850 will clean up a lot of stuff if that comes in. I will hear you scream all the way from Jersey out here in Vegas. If it's PJ Washington, that you can guarantee that me and Ranieri will celebrate that on the show if that's the case. Listen, there's a term in soccer, they call it a clean sheet. The K-Dub card tonight, that might be a clean sheet, K-Dub. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying it. You know I love you, but I'll call it for what it is when I see it. I used to write tickets years ago, be standing at the counter, and something would come out of the machine, and I'd go, I'll see you in a few hours. What do you mean? That's a winner.
Yeah.
That's a winner.
Yeah.
So I ain't putting it on you. I ain't putting a Maloik on you. I'm not the evil eye, none of that stuff. That looked pretty good. Pretty good.
I will tell people this. I guess I'm supposed to let you go. But I don't, but it's fine. Do you have to go or you'll be there on time?
I'm
Ranieri,
good.
Dave, they're going to do it.
They
Good,
know
good.
I'm here.
Those combos, same team. It makes sense why you don't often find those. Because that's how you survive a bad game from someone. Right. It doesn't matter. The other guy's going wild. Oh, man. Like, a lot of times, especially for someone like myself, Dave knows this from the radio days with me, him, and Donnie, we love betting volume.
Right.
Well, I'm now getting Kyrie and Luka combined. You can get that at 55.5. I'm just not playing those guys. I don't love them tonight. There's a Kristaps Derek White 30.5. You want to bet all 4 of them? I don't hate it. I picked my favorite too. Dave, we'll do the futures quickly. All right?
Yes.
Tell me if you have one favorite of the bunch. Luka, 6 assists every game, plus 190. Derek Lively, series rebound leader, 14-1. Kristaps, 5 or more rebounds each game, plus 350. Jaylen Brown, plus 120 to outscore Kyrie in the series. Tatum to average 3+ threes for the series, plus 200. Tatum Finals MVP, minus 115.
Boy, at a quick glance
good.
Right there.
Fells did a good job.
I think it's Jaylen Brown.
Let him see it again. Let him see it again. Oh, it looks good.
I
I'm
like
really
that
pleased.
Jaylen Brown. I like that Jaylen Brown. That's the one.
That's a big
plus
one.
120.
I agree.
I feel like he's the key to the whole series. He was the key to the whole series. I mean, he won the Eastern Conference MVP. Finals. I think it's his time. I really do. I think that pointed something to me that when they stop Tatum, he's going to light it up. They're going to win the series, Kevin. We're going to be talking about championship number 18 at some point, 5, 6, 7 games. As a book guy, I just want more games so we can do this more.
Yeah, I agree. I'll tell you this. A Game 7 would be a treat. A Game 7 would be a treat. Consig's out of here. All right, he's live with the in-game live crew. They're going to have you covered throughout the game. Gabe tonight will pick up the pieces, which will be a rock star hour, so do not miss that. There's a chance I appear. I don't want to promise anything. You guys could tell we were hitting a little under the weather tonight, but the picks do feel rock star style. I'm excited, man. We're rooting on the Celtics. That's gross. Kevin Walsh, see you Saturday.